Welcome to a new episode of Wishy at the Movies. If you have any comments, concerns, or want us to answer any of your questions, email us at angelsofgeneralwishy@gmail.com. So, this week, Wishy, what did you see?
Well, I happen to saw Justice League. It's an indie movie.
Oh, I haven't heard of this before. Please tell us, what is this? What is this all about, Wishy?
That's quite the faux pas because I know damn well you saw it too.
Okay, that is true.
We both saw the small indie movie. It was at this second run theater. So I'm thinking it's something really out there. It's not really been embraced by the critics. I don't think anyone's seen it. I don't think it has any.
I think you're right about that. I don't think any. At least if you go by the inbox on how it's doing there on the money.
Yeah, I don't think it's had any marketing or promotion. I know if you go to the theaters, you say one for Justice League, they're like, Justice who?
You mean Thor?
You mean Thor 4 / Avengers 2.9. No, Justice League by DC Entertainment and Warner Brothers. And I already have to apologize in advance because everyone is going to be like, well, you can't compare it to the Marvel movies. You can't compare it to the Avengers, which I feel you kind of have to.
Yeah. How could you not? I mean, they're aping Marvel's whole thing. How could you not compare it to the thing that they themselves are ripping off of?
Well, I think it's not. I think it's totally fair to compare. I think the people who don't like the comparisons are the people who really like it. We have to acknowledge Marvel is leaps and bounds ahead of DC where they are in movies right now. Not solely because the quality. It's just they had 4 or 5 years on them by the time DC was trying to start their universe.
Yeah.
If you're not counting any of the Batman Begins stuff, which they then had the upper hand, but Batman had his trilogy and he was self-contained. He wasn't doing
a universe. A cinematic universe. Yeah.
Yes, like everyone's trying to do a cinematic universe now.
I mean, King Kong's trying a King Kong cinematic universe or whatever they're doing.
Everyone's seen the money, and they're going straight towards it. Everybody wants a cinematic universe, which is understandable. You want to create something that a lot of people are going to go towards. Every movie becomes its own marketing.
Yeah.
Then you get the silly stuff where when The Mummy came out a few months ago, they're like, this is going to be the start of the dark cinematic universe. And then it bombed. They're like, no, we're not doing that. We'll do that eventually, but we're not doing that now.
Yeah, so I mean, the cinematic universes can be pretty cool. Maybe not for everyone.
They're going to try it, though.
Oh, yeah, they will.
We've got Justice League, which spent a lot of years in development. They wanted to start it right around Nolan's Batman because that was their first big hit in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe Christian Bale came out and said, no, I don't play with others. I think Batman works best as solitary. I don't want the Bat Family. I don't want Justice League or anything like that. So they had to wait for that to end because they didn't want multi-Batmans in different universes running around confusing people.
Yeah, I can't blame him. I mean, I can't blame Christian Bale. I mean, the Batman kind of solo movies did a lot better than most of the DC movies. So can't really blame him for making that decision there.
No, I think he made a good call. So then they had to wait for that to finish. Then here came Green Lantern, and I think they were just kind of like, all right, here we go. And box office flop. They're like, shit, we're not starting that now. So then finally, Man of Steel comes along, does all right, and they decided, okay, finally, it's time. So
good enough, close enough.
Good enough. It feels like they're just trying to get their Avengers set up now.
And every DC movie I've heard or seen about, besides maybe the Wonder Woman one, which I thought was pretty good, I thought every DC movie seems to suffer from the issue of trying to cram in too much crap just to catch up to Marvel's timeline. And I don't think they should try to chain themselves to Marvel's timeline. Yeah, who cares if Marvel gets an Infinity War before you get your big apocalypse or what thing you're going for? You're 3 or 4 5 years behind. Okay, your movies are going to be a couple years behind. You can't change that. You can't go back in time.
Well, I did some math out, and if you go from Iron Man to Avengers, and from Man of Steel to Justice League, it took Avengers 4 years and 5 movies. It took Justice League 4 years and 3 movies. But they weren't doing the 2 movies a year thing that Marvel was doing. Because before Iron Man even became a huge hit, I would like to say that it was Paramount back then. Paramount had done Iron Man, and I believe it was Universal had done The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, that's why they couldn't do a solo Hulk movie. He can only show up in other heroes' movies, which
Mhm.
is why he was only like in the Avengers, basically, bigger part in Thor.
Yeah, and I think that was just coincidental because those movies I remember came out months within each other, and wedged right between them was the Dark Knight, and it just turned out that's the end of the Hulk. They put in Iron Man, and then at the end of Iron Man, they had Nick Fury. So they were playing with it. They're like, we can do this. But it's sort of like in Man of Steel. At the end of Man of Steel, you could see those main tech satellites in the sky. But we could, and then they just are like, boom. All right, our next movie just Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. So now people are saying, okay, this is Rush, and it's hard to disagree only because they gave Superman 2 movies. They gave Batman half of one of Superman's movies, and Wonder Woman had her own movie.
Yeah.
And those are the only people that they set up.
Another thing to keep in mind is Marvel's kind of accelerated their pace. So there's more Marvel movies in like Phase 2 or Phase 3 compared to Phase 1, at least in density, right? I mean, that's how it's at least how it feels to me.
Well, you're talking about Phase 1, but you have to realize
Yeah.
at this point, Marvel has, I think, 20 movies underneath their
Yeah.
belt, or 17,
So
or
that-
it's a shit ton.
yeah, so that's one thing you have to keep in mind is that DC is like just kind of getting their whole thing off the ground, so more or less.
Well, not now.
Well, not okay, yeah, but I'm saying like leading up Justice League and everything. It does feel in comparison that Marvel has a million movies they're just spewing out everywhere, and it's kind of like DC has fewer movies, but they're crammed full of a bunch of stuff, and not always kind of to the movie's detriment, I guess. I know a lot of people didn't like Doomsday in Batman versus Superman. That felt really rushed and kind of out of nowhere.
It's really weird because if you look at every one of these DC movies, they just go right to fighting gods. Like the lowest level villain that they've had to fight is Zod, and then it went Doomsday, and then who was it that came down to fight Wonder Woman? The God of War. It was Ares, right? Wasn't it Ares? Yeah. So the God of War is there, and then there's a new god. They're always fighting gods. There's no ramping up. There's no, I fight Abomination, I fight this guy in a metal suit, I'm gonna fight the Red Skull. Not these. I'm not gonna call them low level. That's not fair. They're not low. At least more.
Where do you go from here? I guess
Yeah. It stops at. It's supposed to stop at Thanos, but of course, in the Guardians of the Galaxy, they fought a whole planet right from the start. They go, let's fight another Kryptonian. Let's just gods. We're just gonna fight God. So where do you go after this?
See, the big reveal at the end is going to be that it's actually not the DC cinematic universe. It's going to be the God of War, cinematic universe, and Kratos is going to show up and just kill all these gods.
I mean, he possibly could. I'm confused on the Amazonians and their gods.
Steppenwolf, the whole gods fighting gods thing. They just kind of ramp it up too fast. They probably should have picked some lower level DC guys to fight first.
It's not even so much gods fighting gods. It's an alien, an Amazonian, an Atlantean, and 3 humans.
Spoilers: they all lose, and the DC Marvel universe, DC cinematic universe, is over forever.
That would have surprised me. That would have been like, oh.
That would have been a plot twist. And then it finds out there was a third director besides Snyder, Joss Whedon, and it was M. Night Shyamalan. Boom.
Nah.
There you go. There's our plot twist.
Brett Ratner. That's how you kill any film franchise.
You get Yui Bo to make a DC cinematic canon universe.
That's the only way they would have made their money back on this, would be the Yui Bo tax credit. We didn't get a lot of characterization for Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman. They didn't get their own movies.
They got a little snippet at the beginning of the movie that kind of established what kind of character they were. Kind of your intro there.
I thought about it versus the Avengers, and I was like, well, Black Widow, Hawkeye, they didn't get movies, but Black Widow was an Iron Man too. Mm-hmm. So there's little things they could have set up, and there's nothing here that's really set up far beyond those scenes of Batman versus Superman where they're going through Lex's computer and they find like the little scenes of the Flash and Cyborg and Aquaman. It was very nice of him to make their own logos for him. Yeah. Well, yeah, he made those logos, and you just, oh, what a coincidence that they're all going to keep those same logos and put them on costumes
that most of them haven't even seen before.
Yes,
like, that the Flash probably wasn't even aware of.
I guess he was very cool about it. He didn't trademark them, sent them in the mail. Okay, consider this for your logo. So we don't get anything. The only characterization that you get for those 3 are the reasons that they joined the league.
Yeah.
You don't learn much about them. That the reason the Flash joins the league is because he's in jail and his dad is just like, okay, you've got to make something out of yourself.
Be a
Go be a
superhero.
scientist. Go be a scientist. Go do something. And so you're like, okay, so Flash is probably like this loner. He's got something to prove. He's trying to impress his dad. He wants to help out. You get that.
I get the feeling they kind of. I almost felt watching it that they were kind of making him up as a parallel to Spider-Man in that they kind of arbitrarily decided to make him like younger and more inexperienced compared to other characters, whereas that's not necessarily true in the comic book versions of those characters. Spider-Man, is young and like literally in high school, and Flash is still younger and obviously like not as competent as everyone else is, compared for his skill level.
I think they used him as mostly as a place to show or how much in awe you should be of the other ones. When he's doing something, but he sees like another hero doing something, he's just like, oh man, that's amazing. Or like when they sneak away, he's mostly just there for comic relief, but there's always got to be a new guy on the team, and you're supposed to relate to the new guy on the team. You're just like, oh wow, that's great. But not that there's even a team to begin with. But that's his characterization. And Aquaman's comes from the fact that he wants to protect Atlantis from Steppenwolf having attacked him.
That you got that whole backstory in like 30 seconds.
The thing that bothered me most about that is he rushes down to Atlantis. There, you don't see much of anything beyond a few pillars, so it's just some quick CGI they flap together, and then he starts talking to a woman, and they do not explain who this woman is. They don't say, "Oh, this is my queen, this is my wife, this is my child, this is my cousin." You just sort of know if you know the comics that that's Mara.
Yeah,
that's it. They don't say, "Oh, Mara, my beautiful queen of the Atlantis," or anything.
No exposition.
None. That is your characterization.
For all you know, that's just Aquaman just goes down and has some sea bitches he hangs out with underwater, and that's for all you know.
You don't even know that's Atlantis. there's like nothing to tell you.
That could be the underwater version of Detroit.
And then Cyborgs. His reason to join the League comes from also a bit of his backstory. His father had the cube at Star Labs. His father gets attacked, and so Cyborg, because he didn't really want to join anyways, he's leave me be. His father gets dead. He's like, oh, I'm in. So with
he's
that,
the brooding character.
He's the brooding, dark, character, and that's the characterization you get. The characterization is the reason for joining the League. Batman starts the League because Batman is worried as hell that they don't have Superman. Batman can't do it himself. He's old. He can't do it. He's hopelessly outmatched against a god. Wonder Woman is joining, and they kind of give her this in the Wonder Woman movie. When her mom is just like, why are you going out there? You don't have anything to do with those people. And she's just like, what kind of person would I be if I wasn't going out there helping?
Yeah.
So you get that characterization.
And again, going back to the whole rolling parallels with Marvel, and it's easy to see Batman as kind of like sort of Iron Man. You got to come from the character, and then they're both billionaires and use their money to cover the fact they don't have any innate powers.
Well, they need to make a joke about it. It's just like, what are your superpowers? I'm rich.
I didn't hate that, actually. I was okay with that.
It's an interesting thing where I was going to go after that. It has such a tone shift in between different scenes, and
where you can see which director did which part.
Well, for that you have to go backwards and you have to sort of explain. Zack Snyder's daughter died earlier this year, so while he was finishing up the movie, he steps away, and the studio, they bring in Joss Whedon, and they take him to a dark room. And they say, "Look, we need you to Avengers this shit up for us. We just watched the first cut of that. It was depressing as shit. One of our executives just committed suicide. Save this movie." So they bring him in, and they're like, "Okay, do your Firefly Avengers funny stuff. You're really good with these characters, like in Avengers. Everyone got
you're the funny man.
Everyone's kind of the funny man in a Joss Whedon movie.
Yeah.
Everyone's got quips, which is interesting because that's kind of an Avengers. So I think that's what they're bringing them in. They're like, look, you got to make this a little bit more lighthearted. Superman, Man of Steel, they kill probably about 250,000 people because they're just rushing into buildings or smacking each other around. I actually watched a few scenes from Man of Steel earlier today. There's one where Zod takes this tanker truck and he pushes it across the street at Superman. Instead of stopping it, putting his hands out, lifting it up, lost breath, anything, Superman hops above it and it smashes into the building behind him and it explodes and destroys the entire block. And I'm just like, this is gratuitous at this point. I don't know how I forgot about that when I first saw it.
Clearly, they must have all evacuated ahead of time.
No, well, that's the funny thing about Batman vs Superman. It shows that yes, a lot of people died, and that's why Batman played Superman. And now I think they've taken a lot of that criticism to heart, and they've tried to make it a little bit easygoing, especially on civilian casualties, and even how Superman is looked at, or even how he acts. If you remember Batman vs Superman, there's many points where I guess Luthor, you could say, is turning populace against Superman.
Yeah.
They just getting arrested. He had to go to Congress and testify. It's not it's a plane. It's a bird. It's Superman. Oh, look up the sky. It's all national treasure. I hope. He's not the
but he's looked that way
beyond
in
reproach.
retrospect. After he's dead.
Exactly, which is kind of like they kind of try to retcon it a bit. And I'm wondering who that was when you're watching The World Without Superman. Like the film starts off with like kids taking a video of Superman for their Instagram or their Snapchat, and they're enamored with him. Then there's The World Without Superman because he's dead. Everyone misses him. They put flowers on him, of him, which is just a lot different than how they were treating him the last movie. He was a war criminal the last movie, sort of like how Captain America is now. He was a criminal. And now everyone misses him. Like, oh, this world needs Superman bad right now. And
he was a relatable, supervillain.
Well, it's not American hope, full of joy, country boy, son of Pa, Ma, Kent. I mean, in the last movie, Ma Kent's like, you don't know this world anything. I could leave, destroy everybody, kill every human you meet. Doesn't matter.
Suck out their souls.
But now everyone loves him.
Tonal issues. There's some tonal issues.
I guess that's why they made The Flash as funny as they.
So if Schneider was doing like all the serious stuff and Josh Whedon was doing all the lighthearted stuff, did the Flash just not even exist in the original version then? Or did they just have like a dark, brooding Flash as well that was all serious?
I want to believe that they just recasted him and it's just a whole new Flash, and Snyder has no idea who this man is. The idea, I think, behind Superman, the first two movies, was what if Superman was real? What if Superman had problems and he just didn't know how to deal with them? And he just
Superman versus Texas.
And he just didn't enjoy. I don't know. There's like that montage in the last movie where he's saving all these people, and he's kind of like, and he seems kind of brooding while he's doing it. And they seem to have stripped all that away.
No, it's not even impossible to make that, to have a bit of a tonal shift to make that work. And here, like you said, they literally changed it so that people changed how they viewed Superman. Like it doesn't like they retconned it.
The problem is nobody wants to see dark, gritty, brooding, real life Superman, because that's Dr. Manhattan. That was the point of Watchmen. What if Superman was real? What if Superman was living among us, got completely tired of our shit, and we turned against him or he turned against us? That's what Watchmen was about. And of course, Zack Snyder made the Watchmen movie, so he had already did this. So now he comes back again, but he wants to do it with actual Superman. You did your watch. It didn't go over too well. Had to release a director's cut that was like 8 hours long. Explain what you were trying to do. Let Superman be Superman. It doesn't have to be campy, but it doesn't have to be Batman. Like,
don't
Batman
be afraid to have a little bit of silliness. Like some
but that's what they did.
Movies are afraid to make them superheroes. Like we have to make it super realistic. I don't always know if I always think that's the best way to go about it.
I don't think super realistic means 500,000 people should die every time Superman punches somebody. Like as soon as he punches someone and they do the Goku Dragon Ball Z punch, like 9 skyscrapers around him falls down. And I think it's time we finally just venture into the spoiler territory.
Okay.
Because now we're just talking about Superman. Beware, Superman's back. If you could not tell that, Superman came back.
Yeah, so I don't think. I mean, if you're familiar with comics at all, you know the whole. I mean, they kind of fit a little bit of death and return of Superman into this movie. So I mean, if you didn't see them going that way with Doomsday showing up in Batman versus Superman.
Funny thing is if you binge watch these movies, God knows why you want to. If you binge watch these movies, Superman is dead for about 20 minutes. Like he lays down, they just bring him right back. So how do we bring back Superman? Let's go grave robbing. But they made grave robbing funny, so you can tell that was kind of a Josh Whedon. Yeah,
where the Flash and Cyborg are digging up Superman.
Yes,
that was definitely not a Zack Snyder.
Uh-huh.
No, but you actually made a comment I almost wanted to touch on. This is actually the comment I was going to say earlier, but then I realized it was spoilery. Did you get the feeling that Superman was basically Goku in this movie? In that, basically, they couldn't do anything to stop Steppenwolf until Superman showed up. Everyone else was like Krillin and the B-list Dragon Ball Z guys, and then your Superman Goku shows up and just completely craps on the villain.
It definitely wasn't the Jesus parallel that they usually go for with Superman.
There was a chapter in the Bible where he just came and just beat the crap out of the devil.
They retconned Leviticus. That's one of my major problems. Is that Steppenwolf is not a very well-built villain. And
Steppenwolf's the villain, by the way, in case you haven't seen the movie and are watching anyway.
Who the fuck's Steppenwolf? And that's the problem right there.
That's not the first person people think of when they think of DC villains. So I'm just saying that he's from Apocalypse. He's a dark side guy.
Well, fuck dark side. But then again, you also had that problem where when people saw the Avengers, they were like, "Who's that purple man the very end, who's that man there?
Yeah. So if it gets people to look into DC stuff more and learn about who Steppenwolf and all the Apocalypse people is, I mean that's a win for DC if people. Now,
And
granted, how many people watch the movie, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get that, but
well, Steppenwolf wasn't a very well built, and you could make that into a CGI thing too, because he did not look great at all. He was not a very well built character. You don't truly understand his motivations. He wants to turn Earth into a nightmare because he wants to impress Darkseid because he fucked something up apparently while he was back on Apocalypse. He tried to destroy the Earth, the humans, the Amazonians, the Atlanteans, and even a Green Lantern.
The whole Green Lantern Corps was there. I thought there was a couple of them.
I only saw them, but kind of makes you wonder if there were more Green Lanterns around. Because I was thinking about this before. Why the hell do they hide all of them? I totally understand hiding one below the sea. I kind of understand giving one of the Amazonians to hide in Themyscira.
Yeah,
they're brave warriors. Why the fuck? Why did men get the other one?
Why did the Green Lanterns get the? Why didn't the Green Lanterns get the third box?
Yeah, why did men take care of it? Men are stupid, and you saw what they did, but they buried it in the ground. They buried it 2 feet into the ground. Like, you'll never find this.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole thing was like they found it so no one could. They buried it so no one could find it. I mean, what about the guys who buried it? Did they all kill themselves?
I was expecting the scene where they buried it, and then all the guys who buried it got killed, like a mummy movie, where like all the people who helped bury the pharaoh or whatever, they all got killed. So they couldn't tell who it was. But I also don't know how they even found it.
They
Star
mentioned they
Labs
found
has it.
Yeah, they mentioned they found it like World War I or something like that, or some historical time. Wow,
that would have been interesting because how they're setting up the Infinity Gauntlet, like every single stone has a story on how they found it. It would have been interesting if they had set one of the boxes up like they should in the background.
And once you say it, it's so obvious. I mean, you have the Infinity Gauntlet's a big thing. You have these boxes, the mother boxes. That's what which are
not a big thing. They're just.
I know, but they could have. But they could have obviously used. I mean, that's your parallel. If you're going to compare Marvel and DC, if you're a DC executive guy saying, okay, how can we make some of that Marvel money? And they start, let's do the cinematic universe. Let's give everyone their own movie. Let's do all this other stuff. I mean, if you're going to have some kind of MacGuffin that's like this big powerful thing, why aren't you using that in the previous movies to set this up?
They have no plan going into these. That is a big problem. They have no plan, which would require forethought and planning, which DC does not seem to want to be doing as well as Marvel is doing. Marvel has got a plan. They years ago decided, here's what we're going to do. Here's how it's going to get done. This is the years. This is what we're going to do. Each movie does this. Each character is going to bring in this. They're going to come in here. They have this all board somewhere in someone's office.
Yeah.
Whereas DC is just like, bring in this guy and finish the movie.
Intern, get me a famous DC story.
And that's pretty much it. Like, they could have set it up that when Wonder Woman was in Themyscira at the beginning of her movie, one of the boxes is there. They talk about it for a second. Maybe it's just in the background as a fun thing to see. And I think if they did find it during World War I, and Wonder Woman was set during World War I, maybe they found it. Maybe they found it, and she's just like, hey, I have one of these in Themyscira. And then you're like, oh, shit, what the hell's this? And it's just like a mystery that comes into the next movie. Nothing happens. Yeah. Nothing from Wonder Woman, other than Wonder Woman herself and a mention of the Chris Pine character, come into play.
Steve Trevor.
He's an offhand mention for Batman to get under Diana's skin. That is it. That's all that comes into play.
Well, I think the idea was that supposedly mourning for like 60 years or something.
Yeah, I think that was
longer than that, like 80, however long, 80 years, I guess.
Yeah, and that was her motivation for joining the League. Everyone's motivations for joining the League are something that comes up kind of out of nowhere, except for hers, Batman's, and of course Superman's, because Superman's Superman. They bring in Lois Lane to remind them, hey, this is what you're fighting for, while they're sitting in the middle of a CGI crop field.
There was a lot. The CGI in this movie was not the best. Someone actually pointed this out to me. They what's his name? Superman's actor back to
Henry Cavill, I think.
Yeah, to record. Like they brought him back to record some lines in certain parts. But at that point, he had like a beard or a mustache, like another movie or something.
Mustache. Yes.
Yeah, a mustache. They got his mustache, and some of it just looked so goofy. Some of the CGI didn't seem quite so great for something like a huge, big budget blockbuster.
Well, that's what helps it not feel like it's been planned. It's just rushed stuff. Oh shit, we don't have any corn. Just put him in front of a green screen. We can't put no makeup over the thing like he sees it Romero. Just fucking CGI it out. We gotta get this done tomorrow. Like,
does anyone know where corn is? Does anyone know where some corn is?
Like, when we say that they didn't set up anything in Wonder Woman, you almost had to start thinking, did they start recording this after Wonder Woman? Like, did they get this? Did they start recording this a couple months ago?
So we have to ask: did the box show? I mean, the box didn't show up somewhere in Wonder Woman, right? Like it wasn't.
No. I feel like that would have been something that people would be talking about.
Because I mean, I'm almost at this point. It's the connection so obvious that they found the box in World War One, and then Wonder Woman was set in World War One, and it was like the most recent, DC movie basically for this. I mean, I feel like maybe we're the idiots. Like, was the box somewhere in the background and we just missed it or something?
I mean,
Like
we are idiots, but I don't think it was there.
They're idiots too, then. Okay, so we're all idiots.
They could have put in maybe one movie before this, and it could have been the Aquaman movie, which they're completely afraid of, that everyone's going to be making fun of it because it's easy to make fun of Aquaman. Like, even Batman's making fun of Aquaman, talking to fishes.
Yeah.
You talk to fishes. You talk to fishes.
There's a reason they made him like super masculine, super badass, to kind of compensate for the image people have of Aquaman.
And they could have just, you can rush it and everything, and maybe the box could have been in Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and you're like, what are these boxes everyone's so afraid of, or it's so powerful, and then it's a payoff in this movie, and then you're like, oh, those boxes, that's that thing everyone's like. When those Infinity Stones come together, everyone's just going to start pissing themselves.
Exactly. They've been set up, they've been established.
Yes, we know exactly which each stone does, except for one. But if you've looked into it, but they've not shown that stone. Every single stone has shown its power off, like being able to fuck with time and space and the mind and all these things, how powerful they all are. So when you put them together, you're going to know, holy shit. For me, those 3 CGI boxes put together, for fucking, it does the thing.
Cosmic.
It's the thing the giant Liam Neeson sounding CGI character told me it does. That's all I know about it.
Yeah. So I will say this in defense. I mean, we've been shitting on the movie this entire time, but I will say it was better than I expected. But I went in with very low expectations. So I'm not going to say it was a great movie.
I wanted to bring this up somewhere near the beginning. There's 2 ways to look at a movie: characterization, framing, pacing, tonal shifts. And then there's the comic book, like, oh, fuck, Batman wouldn't have done it like that. He obviously would have done a double barrel kick over the way. He's never done a sweeping leg kick in his life. There's 2 ways to look at it. When you turn the dark up, you get Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel. It's too dark. But if you bring it back too much, it loses any of the depth and the seriousness, and it played with it because of the reshoots. And so you got to figure out which way you're going to look at it. And if I look at it as a movie, I would say it failed on a lot of its marks. If I look at it as a comic book movie, a lot of fun. You don't have to make a lot of sense in a comic book movie. You can even go kind of schlocky with a comic book movie, and it can still be fun. And that's where some of them fail. They try to make it a little bit too serious, and it's just fun. And I'm glad I live in a world where I need to discern comic book movie versus movie. Back in the 90s, we had nothing. There was you were hoping for an X-Men movie. You were hoping Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be Colossus before he got too old. You wanted Patrick Stewart to be Professor X. You were waiting, nothing. And then 2000 hits, and X-Men does well, and Spider-Man does well, and 4 comic book movies a year,
if not more.
It's so many that you can just pit them against each other if you want. Like, oh, Justice League versus this Avengers movie, and you can compare and contrast so much. It's not just, oh, you get one comic book movie every few years. That's what you get. Enjoy it. Because I was on Facebook earlier. I don't know if you saw that. I was talking to a friend on Facebook, and they said Justice League being number 1 worldwide. How's that possible? It's a comic book movie. A comic book movie always goes to number 1, and there's nothing really to go against it. It came out a week before.
Thor 3 is still out.
Well, that's what they said, and then they said Thor 3 is still out. I was just like, well, Thor 3 has been out 3 weeks. It's done. That's how it is now. Like, if it was only like maybe one summer comic blockbuster a year, that thing would stay on the charts for forever. But we have so many now; they're disposable. They come out, you see it for the first week, see it once or twice, you see it opening night, you see it maybe one more time, you forget about it till DVD. You might get the DVD on a Black Friday sale. You're done. You move on to the next one. It's I don't want to say it's fatigue, because I'm not tired, but I know there's a lot of people who are.
Yeah, there's some people that are tired of what they like to call cape shit.
I understand that, because they're not taking on risks. Justice League didn't take any risks. They wanted their money back, and they're not getting it. It's gonna It has a 40 some odd percent on just Rotten Tomatoes from the critics. It's probably not going to make its money back. I think it's already gone overseas. If it's not hit China, China might be able to.
I mean, overseas can save a lot of movies that are otherwise unprofitable, but it's not going to make the movie now a block.
No, and it's probably going to make them rethink everything they've done. I keep hearing this rumor they're going to cancel the Aquaman movie, even though it's already been shot pretty much. While Marvel isn't going to do anything different. They're going to give you, you're going to get your 2 movies a year, and you're going to like it. You're going to be in the theater for Black Panther. Help us, God. Black Panther does not make 200 million its first day. You're not getting Infinity War.
But yeah, what do you think DC's going to do going forward then? So I mean, like, you think they're going to cancel Aquaman? You think they're going to say, "Screw it, we're done"? That was the Justice League. They were a League of Justice. Good job. Just keep making Wonder Woman. So
that's the only good one. Yes, and then that's probably going to get a second. They already greenlit it.
Yeah, they'll make a Wonder Woman too, probably.
And I think they're so scared. People were even joking, like, just give it to Marvel. Marvel will figure it out. They'll do this well. And if there's anything that they need to do, well, it's interesting because when Suicide Squad came, well, right before it came out, apparently Suicide Squad had its cut, and it did not test well with people. So they were like, oh shit. So they looked at 2 movies that had come out like right before it, Deadpool and Guardians of the Galaxy. So they were like, oh, let's make it weird, let's make it colorful, let's make it funny. And that movie also had some weird tonal shifts.
I honestly forgot. I wasn't even thinking about Suicide Squad. When we were talking about the whole DC universe, that's how little I even thought about Suicide Squad. It just fell out of my mind.
You know what's funny is when I said it had taken 4 years and 3 movies, I was only counting. I didn't count Suicide Squad, so there's been 4 years, 4
that's
movies.
How bad it was.
And that's the other thing too. Like, it's a part of fatigue where we're just kind of like, forget about it. We already seen it. Even though, if you remember, in Halloween 2016, every girl was Harley Quinn, so there was enough people to see Suicide Squad. And I think if I was DC, I'd just stick to the animated movies. They seem to do well. Those little direct to DVD movies that they pump out like 3 a year. Because that's where Marvel's falling down. They don't really have an animated universe. Their cartoons suck. Where they put a lot of thought and effort into their animated movies. So maybe that's where they need to stay for a while. But they don't want.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, you got to hit where the iron's hot. You got to hit where your opponent's weak. You know. So if Marvel's knocking it out of the booth with movies, and you try it, and your movies aren't able to do the Marvel thing, then do something else.
It's not going to make you $300 million a movie, though. That's the problem. They've tried recently.
It's not going to cost them as much either, though.
Well, they've been releasing a few of them theatrically. The DC animated movies, they did the one where Adam West, before he died, he voiced a 66 Batman. They had the Batman and Harley Quinn one. They did the Killing Joke. So they're trying to slowly get those to be taken a little bit more seriously and to get more viewers on them. But they're not wide releases. They don't have a lot of advertising, so it's not making them that money. Everybody wants the Avengers money.
Yeah, well, not everyone can get the Avengers money.
Does Disney need to make another $1 billion when they get Infinity War out? They don't, but they're gonna. I think I've covered all of my points. The only one that I didn't bring up was I felt like the Flash was going to be autistic.
I thought he was kind of supposed to be autistic.
I thought when he was in the lab with Bruce, I was getting those. I don't.
We started talking about brunch.
Yes, like he doesn't understand people. He doesn't understand brunch.
Yeah.
They were going Sheldon Big Bang Theory with it.
But
they just sort of lose that. It becomes, I'm comic relief. I'm the funny guy. I'm trying to cover my fear with humor. I'm immature. I'm still young. I'm sort of cocky because I'm like my first few outings is with Batman.
Yeah, I feel like maybe they were making it ambiguous. I definitely got that feel. I think they played it up at the beginning and kind of eased off it. They eased back on it, but I think I still got the feeling he was kind of at least supposed to be maybe on the spectrum a little bit. I'm not 100%.
That's the thing. If you want a wacky character who's smart, you just make him autistic. But a little bit autistic. You never go full autism.
I was thinking that as you started to say it. I was thinking Tropic Thunder started to get.
Well, it's true because you don't want to go full. So you have to have that relatability, just like Robert
movie autism. Movie autism.
You have to have movie autism or TV autism, where you're autistic, but you're also the greatest doctor in the world. Whereas otherwise, autism is just someone who can tell you about every single episode of Rick and Morty. That's going to get you an email.
Oh, yeah. Again, remember, email is angelsofgeneralwishy@gmail.com.
And if you wanted to go to heavy, preface it with "Hey, fuckface."
We're gonna get a lot of those.
Another one I also want to touch upon, because this was bothering me when we talked about it the other day. Early marketing kept saying "Unite the Seven."
I still think he's crazy, and I still think it never said that, and that it's some kind of Berenstain Bears thing going on.
It's not a
here.
Mandela effect. There was Unite the Seven, and here's my personal opinion, and it's probably wrong in the timeline. They were so close to maybe wanting to put in Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern in, and then Deadpool came out, and he took those little jabs during the movie and in the press. He's just like, fuck Green Lantern. It didn't do well because it sucked. And they're like, oh, all right, Unite the Six then. Forget it.
I think they didn't use Green Lantern because his movie like made negative money.
That's the only thing I could think of that would have been Unite the Seven, and they just didn't know what Green Lantern to use. They didn't know how to use Green Lantern. Maybe they used up all their CGI budget. There's one thing I noticed: there was no inter-team conflict when they did.
There was a conflict where Superman tried to kill him.
There was beyond that. That's
tried to be killed. I mean, that counts. That's
you wake me up after 3 years of being dead and see how I feel. But there wasn't the usual
Avengers
together.
The Avengers conflict stuff.
Maybe it's more like the I see this a lot in team movies. The teams come together. One guy's like, "This is garbage. I gotta leave," and then he disappears.
That was Aquaman. All he did was just make like snide comments. He didn't actually act on it.
Well, he came right back when he came back from Atlantis, but that was when he joined anyways. But like I'm talking like they're all together, and then something happens, like they get their asses absolutely kicked, and they all kind of discouraged and like this team sucks, and they all got to come back together. And that one guy comes back at the very last moment to make sure everything's okay. There was no Well, that's my other problem. Well, that's the no inter-team conflict other than the snippiness. You know, I would not agree with Batman myself if he wanted to bring back a dead Kryptonian using a god box. But one of my biggest problems with the movie, and it took me completely out of it, is when Superman shows up and Steppenwolf is nothing.
Oh yeah. Thing said that Steppenwolf didn't show up until Superman was dead. So like, didn't Lex tell or someone told Steppenwolf that Superman's gone, and that's why Earth has no protectors. Now it's time. So like he was specifically like afraid of Superman, presumably, because he waited until Superman was dead.
And then Steppenwolf being the generic villain that he is with the team of CGI Demogorgons or whatever they are. That means everyone on Apokolips is deathly afraid of Superman then, because they don't even dare attack the Earth.
Apparently.
So where does that go from there? If unless he is the weakest son of a bitch on Apokolips, why even come to Earth? Because the Kryptonian is going to beat the ever-loving shit out of you. Superman came down, just smacks him around, put an apron on him, and said, get in the kitchen, make me a sandwich.
They're going to do what every writer has ever done when they need a way to fight Superman, and that's throw as much kryptonite as they can until it's...
Well, there's not much, because apparently Batman put it on the end of a spear. So...
I think he just cyborg in half. I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
At that rate...
I will beat you with my breath. I will breathe on your axe and blow it up. There you go.
As soon as Superman shows up, there's no more drama. There's no more intensity.
Yeah, like he's Goku versus Frieza.
It's not my favorite. It's good in a bad way. Where the Flash is trying so hard to help that one family that we're supposed to connect with, I guess.
The Russian family?
The one Russian family. He's trying his best to help them, and he's trying so hard. And they pan over to Superman, and Superman has an entire apartment building lifted over his head. Like, it's the opposite of what was happening in Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel. There's not countless innocents dead. Like, don't worry, Superman's got this. Which in a way I liked, because Superman should have it. Superman should be able to come in, and everyone should be able to defend.
Yeah.
Well, what is Batman doing? Batman was going on a suicide mission. Never mind. He's alive because they all came together.
He was blaring loud music to make the demons angry.
Which is like the only thing they gave Batman to do, other than unite the team, which I'll give him. That was his only detective thing. He just found out that they don't like loud noise, or they don't like that certain tone of, and that's it. Like, because he catches the parademon, and he does a little bit of detective work. After that, that's it. No more Batman detective. He just has guns.
Batman's well known for loving, being a big fan of it.
Remember in Batman versus Superman, he's trying to steal that kryptonite, and he just has guns pop out, and he's... They didn't even do like a rubber bullets, honest type deal. He just murdered people. And the thing I like about that was that was the scene that they showed us. There was another scene because that was when he failed to get the kryptonite. There was another scene where he got the kryptonite where they didn't even show us. I can't imagine how many people like he put in his hands and just started snapping their necks, ripping their spinal cords out like the fucking Predator.
He murders some
Luckily,
kids. He murders some kids' parents. Like, this is different. Don't worry, it doesn't count.
He murders some kids who just saw him do it. But so he doesn't murder anybody. I like, well, other than the faceless, nameless CGI parademons that you always gotta have the aliens. That's
Yeah.
okay to kill.
They're okay to kill.
It's okay to kill. They're not Americans. They're not whites. Whatever.
But
All
yeah.
right,
So any other final thoughts on the movie with you?
No, it's fun for a comic book movie. It's bad for a movie. So go in with whatever expectations you want. If you want to have
Low.
If you go in expecting a good movie, you will come out disappointed. If you go in expecting a fun comic book movie, you will come out pretty happy, I think. So
I came out okay.
you didn't come out any worse. Would you recommend?
I wouldn't recommend. I don't know if I would feel comfortable saying I recommend it. I would say it wasn't completely terrible. I had Movie Pass and I wanted to use my Movie Pass, and that's what I did. So there you
I think Movie Pass is changing the way we see movies because you don't feel like you're paying for the movie anymore. So you don't give a shit if it's bad or not.
So it wasn't as. I mean, I went in expecting complete dog. I was expecting like Plan 9 from outer space, except Superman flies by. Like I was expecting just terrible, and it was like, oh, this is only kind of bad.
So how many tendies?
How many chicken tendies? How many tenders?
Out of 10. Out of 10.
Out of 10. Well, 0 because I ate all the tendies. But if I had to give, okay, like 5, 6, I don't know.
You're so middle of the fence with this movie, aren't you? You were so in the weeds with this movie. You're like, oof.
I mean, are we doing like a game kind of review thing where it's like a 7 counts as like kind of bad, or are we doing like an actually okay?
Okay, let's put it this way. In the scale, Civil War is a 7. Let's put it at that.
Civil War, Avengers, Civil War.
Yeah, Captain America, Civil War.
Oh, then I'd give this like a 4.
It's tough. I would give it probably a 5 because I don't want to say that it was done competently when it had so much mixing from the studio. You can forgive a few of the things. As a comic book movie, I'll give it a 6.
Okay, somewhere between a 5 and a 6.
If you're just going there to have some fun, you want to watch a bunch of metahumans and some humans just beat up a CGI monster, you're gonna have a great time. But if you're looking for depth, there is none.
Oh, that is Wishy at the Movies. So again, feel free to email us with any comments and or any questions. We might answer questions in the future if we feel like it. Maybe not. No promises. Anyway, as always, I'm your. I don't know how to count myself as a host, but I'm heavy.
And I'm Wishy. Goodbye.